Cradle, Dogs of Fount, Chapter 37, Part 1. Dad and Porter were at the back of the crowd on the sidewalk. Of course, Dad could see the procession being about 6 foot tall, but Porter was blinded to the procession. Dad looked down at Porter in irritation as Porter heard the clomp of horse hoofs getting nearer. "Porter, get your butt up on the lamppost so you can see. I don't want you to miss this, okay? You have to remember this moment. It's history," Dad explained. Porter did as told and wondered why he didn't think of that himself. He stood on the concrete base of the nearest lamp post, and now he could see the 4 coffins on their individual carts. They were in diamond formation with Fount's flag wrapped over each coffin, bold red, blue, and yellow. The tradition was to have the firstborn son of the judges walking to the right of the cart, so there was Walton Oberhill Jr. walking next to his father's cart. The man had to be nearly 60 years old. Brenda Talman walked alongside her father's cart, being the eldest, but all of them being daughters. Harold Talman had 4 daughters, all of the same marriage. Derek Jackson, a very muscular and slightly tall man, walked with apparent pride by his father's cart. However, everyone's eyes were on Richard Black's cart, being the leader of the rest of the judges. His son wore a deep blue blazer with a black armband on his right bicep with 2103 embroidered or printed on it. Porter couldn't tell from where he was perched. Richard Black Jr. apparently gave the eulogy at the joint funeral, but the Coliseum was packed to capacity, and Dad and Porter couldn't get in even if they tried. There was a horn and drum band playing a stately yet melancholic song as they trotted down the street in unison. Porter looked at the crowd to his right and saw at least 2 women with tears streaming down their faces. Dad was taking it all in with a dignified respect and even glanced back at Porter to see if he was paying attention. After the band, those living from all of the judges' alma mater, Dearden University Law, walked or were assisted in walking behind the band. Lastly, bulletproof police trucks bearing Fount's flags from both driver and passenger side windows closed the parade. After that, people dispersed lazily and distractedly. Porter jumped down from the post base and joined Dad. Dad looked to be in thought, but not too down. They walked in silence among the large crowd. They had parked in a large lot about 3 blocks down this main drag, Gregory Avenue, and then 2 blocks off to the south on Yorkshire Road. Porter was thinking that Dad had to be back at work soon and didn't want him to get too much of a pay cut. "Hey, Dad." "Yep. I'll take the bus home so you could just go straight to work," Porter said. "Port, you know that bus is going to be packed. You'll probably have to wait until 2 fill up before you can catch one," Dad said dismissively. "I don't care. I'll wait and chill at the comic store," Porter explained. "All right." Dad winked and messed up Porter's hair. He looked back once as Porter stayed behind. School had been canceled since this was a national day of mourning, and then they'd all go back Friday, which made no sense to Porter wanting an early weekend. He talked to Ben a few times and was learning more about the heat with each conversation. In some ways, he admired Ben and the others. Ben lived a strange life. However, the tech they had was amazing, and even this basic computer he now had was incredible in comparison to anything he'd been aware of up until this point. He even managed to play a few basic video games like Tetris and an electric version of the ancient game Sudoku. He walked on, dodging random people on the sidewalk. There was an older woman walking a small dog with silky fur, and she was trying her best not to get her pet stepped on. Porter guessed she was too weak to carry the thing. He passed up the bodegas and drugstores because he didn't have any money on him or at home. He had to buy a new power source for the computer, and that was 40 credits. He was thirsty and earnest, but there'd be a water fountain on the street eventually. It may seem silly, but ample water fountains were mandated by law to commemorate the nation's name. It was an old law, but upon every revolt, it was always upheld by liberal and conservatives alike. As the crowd began to thin out, Porter was amazed by all the trash left behind. But not to be shamed, the city already had city workers with blowers industrial grade brooms, and litter collection scoops to get rid of all the ticker tape, programs, and food and candy wrappers. Up the street going west on the corner of Gregory and some side street with a small park, there was a pop-up tent in blue and yellow with the words Faith Net in plain English on the front flap. There was a short line in front of the table were two employees handing out what looked like radios to Porter.